What I'm going to do in this video is show how you can export your avatar from Daz Studio and use it as a 3D model in 3D Studio Max. There's some problems with scaling, but hopefully this should explain how you can do it more reliably. I've selected my Genesis 8.1 character in Daz, then chosen to export it in a Daz Studio export at 100% scale. This is creating an OBJ file. If I go into 3D Studio Max, what I've done is I've set my units, my system units and my display units to centimeters. If I didn't do this, you tend to find you get massive or extra small objects when you transfer them between the programs. But if you stick it to centimeters to match Daz, it seems okay. So if I import this avatar, you pick the Daz Studio preset and leave everything else as default, and then import it. I'll just quickly draw a box. You can see there's about 184 centimeters tall, so it's a real world scale of a typical human being. What I want to do to demonstrate the fact this works is create a very simple necklace. If you do it on the avatar in the world coordinates to match Daz, which this will be, it's easier when you import it back into Daz. So if I just create a quick torus, I want to give it quite a good resolution as a circumference, but I'm just going to make it a three-sided torus, a triangular shape. The fewer lines and vertices you give Daz, the less it deforms under dForce. So by hopefully making this a triangular cross-section to the torus, it will be very difficult for Daz to distort it. I'm not sure how well this will work out, but I'm trying it with a 1 centimeter diameter necklace, which is fairly large. Just position it so that it doesn't intersect the body. And that should do it. So you can see I'm not going through the neck at all there. Right. Just spin round with the necklace centered. If I can work that out. Yep. So you can see the necklace is in the right position. So with the torus selected in 3D Studio, we're going to export this back to an OBJ file, just a selected item. Preset none. Make sure flip YZ axis is ticked, and the scale will already be at 1.0. Those settings are fairly important. Back in Daz Studio, if we import the OBJ file we just created out of 3D Studio, the torus, so you import it with the Daz Studio preset. It's got XYZ as the coordinate order in there, and there's your torus in the correct position on your avatar. Now, to make this a conforming necklace, if you try and do the transfer utility straight from the body to the necklace straight away, the weight mapping is all off. So what I've done is I've converted it to a dForce object and then simulated it so it drops down to hang around the neck. So now when I apply the transfer utility, the necklace is in the correct position on the body to get the correct weight mappings. So what I'm going to do first of all is export the simulated necklace now that it's hung just to an OBJ temporarily. Doesn't really matter what template you use, but if I keep it as a Daz Studio one, and then I'm going to re-import it as a new object. This sort of bakes in the simulated version of it just to make sure that it can't revert to the plain torus when you come to do the transfer utility. So there's my imported version, and I can hide the plain torus. So it's pre-simulated, it's all ready for weight mapping. Yep, let's do the transfer utility. So now when you pose the body, the necklace will move with the neck. If we pick a pose, what the base poses will do. Pick one where the neck's in a completely different position, you'll see that it's moved the conforming necklace, and it's more or less the right shape already. What we're going to do now is convert this re-imported static torus back to a dForce model. Let's just let's fiddle with the redirects just so we can lift it away from the body slightly. Right, dForce it. And then simulate it. So back to more or less how we were before, but now it's a conforming and dForce object. If we add sub D to that, it converts the triangular cross section a bit more rounded, so we can whack up the sub D levels there, the number of iterations, to make it a bit rounder. Because we used a 1 centimetre diameter necklace, it's a bit distorted. It's not really worked out as well. But if you want a nice wibbly wobbly necklace, that's how you do it. It's demonstrated the scaling anyway, taking stuff from Daz into 3D Studio or whatever 3D package you use, and then back from 3D Studio back into Daz, keeping the right scale. You can do this for any item of clothing, bracelets or whatever, because it makes sure they're positioned in the correct location in world space on the body again when you put them back into Daz. So add an eye array material to that, see what it looks like. There you go, gold necklace. Put it in eye array. There you go. Bit of a wacky melted necklace. Adding a smoothing modifier just lets you put some collision iterations in there, make sure it doesn't intersect the body. Try and smoothen it off a bit more. I don't think we can really save this one. What I'll do is I'll try again with a necklace of a smaller diameter, just try and prove the concept a bit, because this will simulate. You can see now it hangs properly, but it's still got that distorted profile to it. This is probably just because of the scale of it. Trying to create a triangular section was a get around how dForce treats everything as a fabric without using support structures. They're a bit more complicated. Let's just try to pose, see how it behaves. Simulate that. So, starting from the end pose, it's not done much. Let's try it from the memorized position. So I'll start from the A pose, so we can give it a bit more swish. So you see it's stayed in position around the neck. It's not really moved much, but yeah, let's cancel that. Now what? Right. It looks a bit strange. Yeah. Back into 3D Studio. I've turned down the radius of the necklace to 1/8 of a centimetre. 1/8? Yes, 0.125 centimetres, so much lower radius, perhaps more realistic for a gold necklace. Let's give it a new file name. So working torus thin this time. Flip YZ still, scale 1.0, leave the preset on none, and export. Right, back into Daz Studio. Let's get rid of the torus we had, and the fat one. Import this new thinner torus. So same procedure as before. We're importing static torus. It's currently up in the air on the A pose. So anyway, import as Daz Studio. Switch my figure back to the default position. Scroll back up. You see there it is, around the neck. Still triangular, but much lower radius, or cross-section radius. So convert it to a sub D as before, simulate it, so that drops it around the neck again. That'll do. Now we want to export the torus in its simulated position again. If there's a way of baking the simulation back into the geometry, do let me know in the comments, because it'd save this export and import malarkey. This is just sort of a get around, I suppose. So export as Daz Studio again, just the torus, hide the one we got, re-import it again. So this is my simulated thin torus. Back on Daz Studio. Oh, there's my simulated necklace. Now we're just trying to offset that again. Just give it a bit of Y offset from the body. Back to create a transfer of that. I think it's going to ignore the offset, yeah. That was pointless. Put an offset on it after you've done the transform. So auto follow the transforms, and then a bit of translation on the Y just to lift it off the shoulders a bit, give it a room to simulate. So change it back to a sub D. Dynamic surface there. Not sub D. dForce. Now convert it to a sub D. It's made it round again. Whack up the sub D iterations, and I think we're ready to simulate that. There you go. Because it's a triangular cross section, it's a pretty low geometry and does a fast simulation. But using sub D, it creates a nice round necklace for you. Because I've used a lower radius this time, it's looking more regular. Just the base poses aren't appearing. Try and put it in a pose anyway. We're going to see how this behaves. Back to the lying down pose. Try a different one. Scroll the viewport to see that. Back to smooth. That's it. So there's the necklace in its conforming position. Let's try simulating that from there. It's sort of sticking to the skin a bit, but sort of working. Depends how long you want to leave that to stabilise. I think it's stuck. I've got a long stabilisation on my, you see I've set it to 10 seconds on the stabilisation time. There we go. Normally it's about 1 second, but if you give it longer, it gives the dForce longer to operate on, gravity against things like necklaces. Wobbling about a bit. Should settle. So look at that in IRA. We haven't given this a material yet. Let's give it a gold surface again. Or should we try something different? Oops. Just thinking about it. Let's try a different metal. Doesn't really matter which one. Silver. It's a bit more classy, isn't it? There it is. There's your little silver, tiny diameter necklace. simple.